got a page number. If it's a book or if it's your scholarly journal, then you got to get it back. Because the purpose of having it.
Can you have a page range?
So you can't even put.
Yes, so you can have a page range. So if it's like 65 to 68, something like that.
So if you got it from like
No.
chapter 9, just have like the page.
No, you can't have that. And the reason why is this. The purpose of the footnote, okay? I'm reading your paper. Okay, you're writing a scholarly paper right now. You write something that I find interesting. I want to go and look it up and find out more about it. Okay? So I want to be able to go to the source, go to the page, and find the information to find out what you have. Alright? In the same way with your websites. If you don't have the right link to the website, that won't be good. I will spend time on the paper going through your sources to see what you've done.
So we have to mark where like every single page of our notes, what notes we get from each page. That seems a little bit.
If you use it if you use the idea. Yes,
Oh my God.
that is what happens.
It's getting
That's why at the very beginning when I said it's really important to organize your notes and make sure you know exactly where you get everything from.
So I have to go back through all 5 books that I've already read all the way through, taking notes of the entire thing, and go back and mark each section, what page stuff is from.
The idea where it's from.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Can I do like pages 1 through 10?
No.
On the,
It needs to be specific.
can it be 1 through 3?
It needs to be specific. Well, but I think what you're talking about, you can do page ranges if the idea covers multiple pages. Okay?
How
No.
many points will we get taken off if we don't?
If you don't have page numbers, then your citations are worthless. It's like not having citations.
So I can read about the citations completely if I just don't have it.
And then that would dock you a full letter grade.
Jeez, do you have to do them? Can you do them on half?
So, the second time you use it, okay? Later on in the paper, okay, you go back and use the same source again, okay? The second time you use it, let's say this is now your 4th thing. Key difference between science and history. Science, every source gets a number, right? So, Burchard would be 1, Smith would be 2, Johnson would be 3, and every time you use Burchard, it's number 1, right? In history, it goes chronologically. So it starts at 1. It's the only time you have 1. So you're going 1 through 35. Okay? That's a huge mistake people make.
And then you don't put the list at the end.
The what?
The list of all your sources you don't.
Yes, that's your bibliography. Okay? So for the second time through, all you need is last name. Okay? You need the title, but you do not need the entire title.
Can you just do the whole thing again? Can I just copy and paste? That's so much easier.
The whole citation.
Yeah. If I use it twice, can I just use the same citation?
Changing the page number, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would be bad.
I thought like that's like
But
overachieving.
it would be overachieving, I think.
So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think that would be
You use the same book multiple times, you do a different citation.
correct. So you do it short.
But change the page number.
Right.
So if you're changing the page number, do you have to do the whole thing? or
Nope,
just-
this is all you do. The second time you use it, the only time you need a full citation is the first time you use it. Okay? The second time you only need last name, book title, or whatever the author, the name of the website, the name of the page, and then the page number. If you use it multiple times in a row, okay? So let's say you're using this book again for your next citation, okay? What you then do is you use the word ibid, all right? Ibid means basically again, okay? Ibid, period, comma, page number, period, okay? Then, if they're right after each other. Then if you go back and you use the source again, and there's other ones in there, you go back to the shortened version. Okay?
Yeah, so for the IBID one, can you just do the first one again?
You really shouldn't. I mean, here's the thing. You're asking, can you do it? You really, this is the, what you're doing right now is you're learning how to write a research paper. In college, you're expected to be doing this. So this actually, once you get the first citation done, this is actually very easy to do. I mean,
Unless you're
last
just, like copying and pasting the first citation and changing the page numbers, you have to go back through the books and figure out.
You should have told us that.
I did tell you that.
No,
I did.
And I started thinking,
I
I'm
did.
sorry, I started thinking these are and then you just like needed that.
I said on the very first day.
So it's like the first day of class when we're all like
I-
still trying to figure out what class we're supposed to be in and just offhandedly.
Is it on the
by way-
checklist?
By the way,
No,
I wanted to
it's
be
not
more
on the
Put it on the
checklist.
checklist. I'll add it to the
Where is
checklist.
it on that checklist?
I'll add it to there. Okay. Emily's question earlier. Okay. Mixing your sources. All right. What does not look good in a research paper is if you use a source for 10 citations in a row that involve 3 pages. Okay. So let's say you use this book and you had, this form, and then you had IBID 4 more times after it, and it's from page 68 to 72.
Couldn't
Okay.
you just put that at the end of the paragraph, then if the whole paragraph?
Right. So what this does, okay, what it's doing is, first off, to answer that one really quickly, if the idea all comes from one source, you cite it at the end of the source, or at the end of the idea.
But how do you
Okay.
know what because at the end?
How do I know, or how do you know?
How do you know?
Because that's where you put your citations.
But how do you know it's not for just that sentence, it's for that whole like?
Because I'm going to
Four
assume that if you have not put those things in there, that it's there, and then I'm going to go check that source to make sure it's correct.
Is it IBID period comma?
Yeah. All right. What you want to do, okay? You want to mix your sources. All right. So you want to have, if you have 7 in a row, okay? What you want to do is you want to find other sources that you have that say the same idea. So you are basically backing up the idea. You're backing up the concept that was given. It makes the paper stronger. Because the problem is if you only have one source, let's say you use one source only for 2.5 pages of your paper, which happens all the time. Okay? What that tells me is that you've read one book. Or you've read one source that talks about this. All right? Now, that could be a key source for you, and you could use that more often than not, but you need to mix it up. So if you have 20 sources, let's say in your bibliography, I think a good amount to be using in citations are 15 of them. You want to use about 75% of your sources in the paper, and the other 25% serve as background information that you just kind of got general information from.
15 of the 20, but what if there was like 3 of those 15 were just like,
Much better.
well, no, there was just like a lot more citations in the paper. And like,
That's fine. But what you want to make sure you're doing is not bunching them all together, right? You want to mix them up,
Go in order.
and you want to. It doesn't go in order.
Well, like by what your top percentage is for each paragraph.
Right, but what you just want to make sure you're doing, right? So if your sources, source 1, 2, and 3, right, Jones, Smith, and Jones, right, are the best by far, right, and you're using those the most, that's fine. You just don't want to have 10 sources in a row that are by Smith, or 10 citations by Smith. You want to mix them up, because what you're doing there is you're basically saying, this is this guy's idea,
By other people to back.
but I have the people to back it up. That being said, you want the majority, ideally, of your sources to be primary sources. If you only are using secondary sources to prove your paper, that's not good. Okay? You want to be getting in your primary sources. You have to use your scholarly journal.
Is that?
No. But here's the other thing, okay? We ask you to separate primary and secondary for the bibliography part leading up to it. But once you get into the paper, that difference of is it a primary source or a secondary source doesn't really matter anymore. So like, for example, if you said, what if it's a primary source that's found in a secondary source? I don't care if the book is a primary or secondary source. You're using it as a primary source.
When I find other biographies.
It should have been separated on this one. So, yeah. So no, you just do it in alphabetical order. As soon as I go through them. They're just sitting in my bag right now. I'm working on it. Okay? Yeah.
So when you're talking about like a link having to go directly to the source, what if it's like something like through a library or something? So like not everyone is able to.
So you're saying that you have like a
Online source through a library.
online source through a library. So like you would need to have a password to get into it? I don't know. It's a great question. Go ask Miss Margaret and let me know what she says, and I'll report back. Here's the thing about these things that I also like to point out that I've said a lot. I'm not an expert at this. When I do this stuff, like when I went through this today, I got out the book and went through how to do it. I don't remember how to do this stuff from year to year because it's not something I use from year to year. But I know how to access it and find it. Right? That's the key part.
For like those WordPress websites with tons of extra stuff.
Yeah.
Would it just be www.wordpress.com? Or do you want all the
It needs to be so there is a within that where it gets all that stuff that's extra on it, right? You can usually cut that off at some point and still get to the website. Figure out. So it's a nice, a good idea is just to kind of quickly type it in and see what you can get to. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in what the website is and try to get to it and find out what it is. That because I want to see what you're doing. And what often happens, what you see is that if people use sources, you can end up using a source that's not a good source, and that's where you want to double check it. I don't check every citation, but I usually check a couple. So you want to get it as short as possible. That makes sense.
Okay, so let's say you're using a website, but it's like a website about your topic, so you have a bunch of different pages within it.
Yeah.
And like you cite one, would you make the citation different from
You'll find that information in there. Yes. But yes, you do. You want to get to the more specific page.
Yeah, but then for the bibliography, when you're
The bibliography is just one source. It's
it
one
would just be a
website.
broad website,
Yes,
and
correct.
then the citation
Correct.
is specific.
Correct. Yeah.
For some reason, like one of my sources, the website like keeps changing its URL. I don't know why.
That's not good. Is it a good website?
Yeah, I have like, a lot of information online.
Is it from a good? Not is it a good? Is it from a reputable source?
Yeah, I was like, I think it's like .gov.
No, that should be.
I don't know, 'cause, like Hunter was telling me how like if you get one of the websites off of like ProQuest or something,
Yeah.
databases, they change their URL every day.
Really?
That's what he was telling me. Because I was like, no way. So then I went back and plugged it in, and it's like page not found.
I would ask Ms. Market that question.
Oh, that happens to every.
Couple other things. When you're introducing a quotation, or when you're introducing an idea, all right, you want to use things that start you out. So, for example, according to Smith, and then give the idea. Jones argues, something like that. Instead of just dropping it in the paper, sort of out of nowhere, if you put it in a way that
You have to name drop.
you wanna make it so it's not like I'm saying, why are you putting this in there? Who's saying this, right? Because what you end up having is you have these quotes that are good quotes, but you have no idea where they're from.
Could we just list quotes for 10 pages and cite them all with that?
I feel like you're messing with me, right?
I just.
You're
it's
just so angry right now.
It's so just. I
Dude,
can't
I
handle it.
don't-
It's just so frustrating. I feel like the more effort I put into this project, the worse it gets.
Any other
Like,
questions
I-
before I turn this thing off?
Like as I don't handle it, it just. It keeps
Continue to come ask for help. I'm happy to do so.
No.